The next frontier for human spaceflight is obvious. We have to go to Mars. You might have heard a lot of people talking about this recently, from tech innovators, NASA scientists, even President Obama has made the case that we should go to Mars. So we talked to Chris McKay, a senior scientist at NASA's Ames Research Center, and he's involved in the planning of future Mars missions, and he walked us through some of the hazards. I'm Brian Resnick. I'm a science reporter at Vox. I will never go to Mars, and here are the top 7 reasons why. Here's number 1. Your rocket could blow up before leaving Earth. This is pretty obvious. NASA has a pretty good track record with sending astronauts to space, but we also know that there have been tragedies. For some context, the NASA Space Shuttle program carried 833 people to orbit between 1981 and 2011, of which 14 people died in 2 big explosions.
From the side of the shuttle in an explosion.
SpaceX has a checkered history of trying to launch rockets and land them. Number 2, so if you successfully leave Earth and it's all safe and it's all good, there's still some dangers in that journey to Mars. The biggest danger here is radiation exposure. The vacuum of space is not really empty. There's radiation emanating from the sun. It goes out in all directions. There are gamma rays and X-rays and ultraviolet light and all these things that can damage our cells. So here on Earth, we have a dense atmosphere and a magnetic field that helps keep this radiation out of our daily lives. According to measurements from NASA's Curiosity rover, there's more radiation at the surface of Mars than there would be on Earth. Perhaps a more worrisome risk of radiation in space is from solar flares. So occasionally and randomly, in a way that's hard to predict, the sun emits very large batches of radiation in great flares. Number 3, you can crash on Mars' surface trying to land. One thing about landing on Mars is that the atmosphere is a lot thinner. That means there's a lot less of a cushion. Another way to think about it is there's a lot less friction in the atmosphere that will naturally slow your spacecraft down. Basically, you would need a system of rockets to help you land smoothly on Mars. We saw with the Curiosity rover that was an incredibly intricate and choreographed maneuver to get just that 1-ton rover down onto the planet. Could you imagine getting 6, 7, 10, 100 humans down onto that planet? You would need a very complicated, very sophisticated, and very well-tested system to help people descend down to the Martian surface. Number 4, Mars's low gravity might wreak havoc on your bones and muscles. Many astronauts who spend 6 months or more on the space station have vision loss that doesn't get corrected when they come back down to the Earth. There was one astronaut that went from perfect 20/20 vision to 2100 vision just in 6 months. Other things that happen in the microgravity of space is that your muscles start to deteriorate, your bones start to deteriorate, and this can be staved off by some regular exercise. But NASA really hasn't found a complete solution to this problem. Think about a 6-month voyage to Mars. Once you get there, the Martian gravity isn't as strong as Earth's. It's not as light as you would be on the moon. It's not as heavy as you would be on the Earth. So will muscles and bones and eyesight continue to deteriorate on Mars is not yet known. Number 5, your spacesuit or habitat could leak, and you just can't breathe Martian air. Pressure of Mars's atmosphere is just a fraction of the pressure of the Earth's atmosphere. Your house on Mars would be like the cabin of an airplane. Any crack in your house, any slit in your spacesuit will lead it to depressurize, and that's an obvious problem. Mars is filled with dust and dirt that just gets everywhere. It could quickly clog all of your intake vents. It could quickly destroy some of your electronics, and people could die if you inhale it. So the dream is that one day we could potentially breathe Martian air. This is an idea that has long obsessed science fiction authors. It's called terraforming. And the idea is that maybe we can change the Martian atmosphere to be more like Earth. We could start some global warming on Mars and raise the temperature of the planet and trap more greenhouse gases in. We can raise the level of CO2 so we can start growing plants there. Those plants could then start produce oxygen. this is probably the most far-fetched idea out there. Not to say it's impossible, but just it is well into the future. Number 6, the planet Mars could literally kill you. The soil of Mars is toxic. You might have seen the movie The Martian, where astronaut Mark Watney grows potatoes on Mars in the Martian soil. We probably shouldn't do that. It contains very high concentrations of chemicals called perchlorates. These are salts that can do serious damage to the human body, especially the thyroid. You wouldn't want to grow your potatoes in it. It's okay to get Martian dirt on your hands, but you really wouldn't want it to get into your drinking water or food or get into your habitat. Number 7, your fellow travelers could drive you crazy. So this has been a surprising challenge for NASA to learn and to get over. Like, how do you craft a crew for a spaceship that will be alone with each other for months on end and also be the only human beings on an entire planet for perhaps months or years and spending only their time with one another? If there's going to be a mutiny or if there's going to be interpersonal strife on Mars, that is an element that could be the riskiest of all. There was this project called Biosphere 2 in 1994.
Living in it was supposed to be like living in a space colony.
It was a 7-person crew, and they split it up into warring factions, and the mission had to end prematurely. So it will take some calibration to find who are the right people for this type of mission. The first people who go to Mars should go with the expectation that they might never come back. But that hasn't stopped explorers for centuries. There's always going to be a drive in humans to go places we've never been before. And for the most part, that drive is something that has aided our survival at times. So will the risks on a trip to Mars be great? Absolutely. Should we go? Absolutely.